Welcome to the video, everyone. I hope you are having a great day whenever and wherever you might be watching this. Today, we are doing a showcase on a champion that I acquired quite a while ago, but didn't really have a chance to showcase on my channel yet, and that is Authoratrix Lamasu, whatever you want to call her, that comes from the siege mode. Everybody is going to be able to get her eventually by grinding it out enough. So she is definitely a free-to-play friendly champion. So I figured we'd go ahead and do a showcase on her. I built her out today. It's important to note that she does not have maximized masteries, so I would recommend essentially coming down here, getting most likely Eagle Eye, and then in my opinion at least, I'm probably going to want counterattack masteries on her. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at this champion, see what she's capable of, where we're using her, all that sort of good stuff. So she has an A1, which attacks all enemies, has a 70% chance of placing a decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. This is absolutely incredible. She is damage based on defense, but you're not really want to build her as a DPS just because the only thing that hits in her kit is her A1, which doesn't have very incredible multipliers. So obviously not really a nuker or anything like that, but an AoE decrease attack on the A1 is pretty strong. Build her out inside, like, you know, even a stun set, and she's going to help you out a lot, obviously. A2 has a 100% chance to place block buffs and True Fear on all enemies for 2 turns. If the target is a boss, has a 75% chance to place block buffs and decrease speed instead. This is very strong because obviously if you're going against Hydra, True Fear is kind of useless. So the fact that they said, hey, we know that, and replaced it with a decreased speed instead is very strong. Makes her a very competent champion for obviously Hydra. Chimera, she's fantastic as well, so she is definitely a decent champion. The only thing that really sets her back, though, as a lot of people have mentioned, this doesn't remove any sort of buffs. So if the enemy team has a block debuffs up, if they have a stone skin or something like that up, this doesn't really help you all that much. It's kind of just a useless A2 essentially in that case. However, her A3 I think is where she really gets set apart from a lot of other champions. So removes all debuffs from a single ally except this champion and places 2 intercept stacks on them. So a full cleanse, not just CCs or anything like that, a full cleanse. Placing 2 intercept stacks essentially means that they are immune to 2 additional attempts at CC, which includes sheep as well. She also fills the target's turn meter by 50% and resets the cooldown of all of their skills. You can probably already see how busted this is for something like, for example, Marius, Sun Wukong, Trunda, those sorts of champions, right? As a matter of fact, before recording this, I did actually record a live arena video that will go live before this video, and you could really see how strong she was on some of my teams and how helpful she was. And finally, her passive, this champion is immune to sheeps. Each debuff placed by this champion decreases a target's turn meter by 5% and permanently decreases their resistance and accuracy by 10, stacks up to 100. So essentially, if you think about it, Chimera, right? Over time, it's going to get its resistance and accuracy decreased by 100%, which is insane. Same thing with Hydra. She can really help your team enter in, right? So if you have somebody that is maybe like 50 accuracy short, that's fine. Lamasu is going to make that champion useful as the battle goes on. And finally, she has an aura of ally speed in all battles by 24%, which means that she's also very strong, obviously, for the siege mode. So let's go ahead. Let's go into dungeons here. Let's waste a little bit of energy inside this the dragon. So we're going to put her into the aura lead. And then we're just going to bring in, like, let's say a Marius, right? Just to show you how essentially her turn meter boost and fill and all that sort of stuff works. So let's go ahead. Let's do that AoE where she does the decrease fear and block buffs. We did get resisted there, which is a bit unfortunate in terms of showcasing her. So now we can go ahead, we'll reset the skills, boost the turn meter, and place intercept on Marius, who can then come in and obviously do his AoE blast, right? So this is so incredibly strong. Obviously, if you're really min-maxing this, you'd want him to do his AoE and then reset him and all that sort of good stuff. But she's not really a DPS, so there's not too much to show off in the PvE mode. That being said, how is she built? This is the build I have on her. 75,000 HP, almost 3,200 defense, 373 speed. That's right, she is the second fastest champion on my entire account. 323 resistance and then 444 accuracy. Plenty of accuracy and resistance for almost all PvE modes. It's really just when you get inside PvP that you'll probably want to have her a little bit stronger. In terms of the build, I did just try to obviously go with as much speed as possible. What I originally wanted to do, though, is build her inside a 9-piece Feral. Because of all the debuffs she's placing, you'd be getting like a 15% damage boost to any of your champions when she's on the team, which would be incredibly strong. So I would highly recommend building her inside Feral if you're able. The downside for me, though, is I essentially just didn't have, I think it was a banner. If I go and take a look at my Feral pieces, yeah, it's just a banner and a ring that I don't have. So it definitely kind of dampens the mood when it comes to who I can build, right? So obviously I have a Feral ring, but I just literally do not have a banner. So even if I wanted to, as much as I might want to, I can't get her into that 9-piece Feral, unfortunately. But after a couple more siege victories, I'm sure that'll happen, and I think she'll probably help out my siege defense quite a bit as well, which will be very nice. So let's go ahead and just showcase her off in a couple of different areas inside the game. So one of the areas I'm most excited to use her is going to be obviously the Chimera, and I think she's going to make a very good replacement for my Eostrid. The reason being, she brings a ally speed increase. She also brings a decreased speed for the enemy, which is what we were depending on Eostrid for. She doesn't bring a weaken, of course, but Newt does have that on his A2. And then the other thing is, too, is she's actually going to be able to reset my Marius now, which is going to be so incredibly strong. And then, of course, Lydia brings the increased speed anyway, so that's not really something that we have to worry about missing from Eostrid. So let's go ahead, just start slamming in here with the Marius, and then we can also boost his turn meter, put intercept on him, which is very nice against the Chimera. I messed up the turn order there, but whatever. It's very nice against the Chimera because obviously you don't have to worry so much about, like, you know, for example, his provokes getting through or those sorts of things. We got the decreased attack coming in there as well from of course, Newt, and then she also helps to keep it up on her A1 too. So if you don't want to use Newt's A2, like, so for example, if you have him set up to be like a, I don't know, like a reflex champion or something like that, like I do, you don't have to worry about that. We'll go ahead and get that decreased speed out there again as well for the 2 turns. Newt's back around to his Blessed Bash, and he's going to be decreasing the boss's defense. Lydia's obviously keeping up the decreased defense on there as well. Now my champions are getting a little bit low, certainly, so we will have to look at the survivability on this team at some point, I'm sure, which might also involve maybe even speeding up my Pythion or something like that. But you can see we're already at like almost 9 million damage on turn 2, which is pretty crazy, and obviously there's you know, teams that can do this slightly better, but realistically, for the champions that I have, I think it's perfectly fine. Another option that you could do as well is you could actually remove Newt from this team, and then you could run like an Eostrid there, or somebody else who's doing resets, right? So maybe like a Crixia, or, you know, whoever you might need, a Renegade even, just anybody that can reset and those sorts of things. We'll go ahead, try to cycle around here, get closer to the max HP skill. We have a Provoke, which landed on the Newt, which is kind of annoying, but we can go ahead and cleanse that off. My Newt's definitely a little bit slow for this as well, and the decreased defense did fall off there, so he's not going to do as much damage as possible. Same thing with Newt, but again, we're just kind of showcasing what's possible here. We're not really focused on min-maxing this at the moment. We did get a resistance there too, which is a bit unfortunate, which is odd because she didn't have like decreased accuracy or anything like that, and generally my Lydia has more than enough accuracy to do the job on this. So I'm a little bit shocked, ladies and gentlemen. I am shook. Let's go ahead and get Marius going again. Newt cuts in though, unfortunately. Marius should be going here next, I think. Yes, there it is. So we'll go ahead. We'll just do this for now. We'll save the extra turn mechanic for next turn. We do have essentially Mr. Slow You Down himself here, which is a bit of a shame. So against the, what is this, the Ram form, I believe? Yeah, the Ram form, you can't really do anything, right? You're not really going to be doing much damage or anything like that, unfortunately. Just because he reflects it all back to you, and he does an absolute insane job of doing it. So it is what it is, I guess. But she's also going to be good for trials, I think, because she's placing so many debuffs. She can definitely help you get those unique debuffs out there. She's also placing unique buffs on your team. she's an overall incredibly good champion in my opinion. You can see she's resetting the Pythion there too. The one thing to keep in mind is if you're really wanting to like optimize your team with Lamasu, you're going to have to manual it because she's very funky in terms of who she's using the reset on. Generally, it's going to go to your champion that's in the lead, but obviously, you know, if it's her in the lead for the speed aura, it's kind of just random who it goes to apart from that. Now, I thought I had Marius's A2 turned off against the Ram form, but I could be wrong on that. We're back into the ultimate form here now, though, which does mean that essentially we can start doing damage once again, which will be nice. So, you know, we can actually start putting out some DPS here, which will be awesome. We get the block buffs, decreased speed up, we get the decreased defense and weaken from the Lydia. Let's go ahead and get the Newt just going in with his A1. We have Marius, who's going to be good to go next turn as well, so we won't have to worry about doing the reset with Lamasu. We get the decreased attack up there. What's very nice about her is that she has a very high land rate of it, right? So 70% on an A1 is pretty strong in my opinion. I do think this team is probably going to be a bit better min-maxed with like a stronger... like either a different DPS or just like a different champion in the Newt slot, because the Newt, like I mentioned, he's pretty slow and he's not really able to cycle as effectively as I'd like, especially against the Nightmare Chimera. So, you know, it is what it is. I set my personal best last rotation, I think it was, where I essentially did, oh, what was it? It was like 130 million or something like that, which isn't crazy. I didn't want to use the reset there because there was no decreased defense on the boss, so we would have been essentially just wasting a bunch of damage. But we'll get the boost and reset coming in on the Marius here now, and then he should be able to absolutely decimate with the A2. There we go, doing literally millions of damage, which is pretty crazy. Marius is so incredibly busted. So incredibly busted. He's such a good champion, though. I don't think he needs nerfed or anything like that. Plarium, don't get any crazy ideas, please. You never know these days, of course, right? But there we go. We're back around to the A2 again, doing over 1 million damage this time, which is pretty crazy. Obviously, as Newt gets more turns and he decreases the enemy's defense, that's going to help out the damage as well. I am going to go ahead, just do a free regroup here. We're 16 turns in and we're at 25 million. So as you can see, based on that and the chests here, we'd easily get ourselves to the 84 million, right? So that's pretty crazy. I actually don't remember if I did on Nightmare or Ultra Nightmare. That might have been Ultra Nightmare in all honesty, based on how fast they were going. I think it was Nightmare, though. I'd have to go back and look inside the video there. I seen Nub Raids making a video recently on really good Hydra compositions. And the thing with her is obviously you can run her as a leader because she has, you know, the resets and all that sort of stuff. You can then also bring in, obviously, a Mithrala. And then finally, also you can bring in, oh, where is she here? You can bring in Lydia, right? So this combination right here is incredibly strong. And I'm not taking credit for this because it was literally just on a Nub Raids video. But then you can also bring in, for example, Marius as a DPS. I have a nice 6-star Awakened Inquisitor, wherever he might be. So right... oh my god, where is he? There's so many champions. I always say this, but I'm not so used to playing on essentially the PC version of Raid. Whenever I play, it's generally going to be on mobile, obviously. So we can then also bring in somebody that's going to be doing some sort of a provoke, right? That's really the only thing that we're missing. So let's go ahead and take a look at the provoke options here. I think a fantastic option is going to be the Archer. You could also obviously bring in Vizix, Molly, and just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and run this team with the quick battle, the auto battle, right? Because Archer's bringing in the AoE provoke. She's also bringing in a bit of damage. And we get 132 million on Nightmare Hydra, right? And that's completely on auto. Obviously, most of that is due to Marius, but Lamasu is certainly going to be helping out with that with her debuffs and her resets and all that sort of good stuff. And this is literally just, you know, a random team that could go in there. 132 million, or you're well past the threshold for what you need to actually get your your chest done that week. And if you go and do that on manual, you're going to get a lot more damage as well. So I hope that this was a bit of a useful guide or showcase on how you can build Lamasu, where she's useful, and all those sorts of good things. Let me know down below if you guys have further questions, things you want me to cover in any sort of videos showcasing champions, all that sort of good stuff. As always, though, thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.